for everyone, we have an English session starting in 2 minutes. So please stay online. Dr. Bipin Doshi is going to enlighten us with a series today, and his topics is non-violence, a need for sustainable existence. So please stay online, and we will start the session in 2 minutes.
In this way, in meantime, Savita ji would like to sing a song. Savita ji, please go ahead.
जय जिनेन्द्र। सभी को पर्युषण पर्व की शुभकामनाएं पूछते हुए सभी की सुख साता पूछती हूँ। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है, वीर नाम अति मीठा है, तू गा के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है, तू गा के देख ले। आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है। जिस घर में अंधकार वहां मेहमान कहाँ से आए। जिस मन में अभिमान वहां भगवान कहाँ से आए। शब्दों पर ध्यान दीजिएगा कि जिस घर में अंधकार वहां मेहमान कहाँ से आए। जिस मन में अभिमान वहां भगवान कहाँ से आए। भगवान कहाँ से आए। अपने मन मंदिर में ज्योति जला के देख ले। आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है। आधे नाम से आ जाते हो कोई बुलाने वाला। बिक जाते भगवान कोई हो मोल चुकाने वाला। आधे नाम से आ जाते हो कोई बुलाने वाला। बिक जाते भगवान कोई हो मोल चुकाने वाला। कोई चंदना जैसे, अरे कोई चंदना जैसे उड़द खिला के देख ले। कोई शबरी झूठे बैर खिला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है, तू गा के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है, तू गा के देख ले। आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति प्यारा है।
Thank you, Savita ji, for such a nice, song. Very appropriate for the Paryushan. So let me just briefly give an introduction of Dr. Bipin Doshi. So Dr. Bipin Doshi is a notable Jain scholar from Mumbai, India. By profession, Dr. Doshi is a physician, now dedicated to community service. Dr. Doshi is a Jain philosopher, and he has played pivotal role in establishing Jain chair at Mumbai University and Jainology department at Sumandip Vidyapith. Dr. Doshi is also an accomplished author. He has penned several books. Additionally, Dr. Doshi has conducted research on ancient Jain personalities and has produced multiple dramas on such subjects. In addition, he has served as a vice president of Virayatan, founder secretary and the past president of G2 Apex. also involved in Jain Vishwa Bharati Institute. And we thank Dr. Doshi for this Paryushan lecture series on the subject Practical Jainism, Basics of Jain Philosophy. And today's session is on the subject Non-Violence, a Need for Sustainable Existence. And this session will be recorded and will be available on Jaina YouTube channel. Please welcome Dr. Bipin Doshi.
आप सबको जय जिनेन्द्र। नमो ओरियंताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो आर्याणं नमो वज्राणं नमो लोये सौवसाण एसो पंच नमोकारो सौव पापणासनो मंगलाणं च सर्वेसि पडम हवै मंगलम पडम हवै मंगलम। So good morning as far as I am concerned, because it is 6:30 in the morning in Mumbai. Today my topic is on non-violence and the sustainability of this planet. Let's understand that this is Earth. The Earth is surrounded by the atmosphere. Almost every one of us know about it. We know about the various layers of the atmosphere. We also know about the atmospheric pressure. But Tirthankar Paramatma told us something more than that. And that is, the planet is not only surrounded by the atmosphere, but it is surrounded by something which is called biosphere. Though this term may look little new to us, but what we mean by biosphere is, it's not only the inert gases which are there around the earth, but there are trillions and trillions of the microorganisms which are there in the atmosphere, or maybe let's use it, it's there around the planet. So all our activities, whatever we do, not only affects the atmosphere, but also affects the biosphere. The non-violence in Jainism has to be understood considering the biosphere. We focus only on atmosphere. Yes, there is an air pollution, there is a water pollution, there is a sound pollution. But what about the damage which we are doing by our activities to this biosphere? And that's going to be the most important point today, which I am going to drive at. First of all, let us understand the definition of non-violence, or a definition of violence, not non-violence. In Tattvat Sutra, it's very clearly defined. And one must understand the basic definition of violence if you really want to understand non-violence. The definition goes like this: Pramata, Yogata, Prana, Vyaparona. Now see, it looks a little confusing, but it's very simple. Pramata. Pramata means carelessness. We are not careful. Yogata. Yoga. Yoga in Jainism, the meaning of yoga is activities of body, mind, and speech. Usually when we talk about yoga, we always think about Baba Ramdev and the standard Patanjali yoga. No. In Jainism, the meaning of yoga is activities of mind, body, and speech. Careless activities of mind, body, and speech. That is Pramata Yogata. Then it says Prana. Prana. Prana means there are life forces. Jainism believes that every living being has prana, life forces. There are 10 life forces which are described as far as the human body is concerned. I'll just give you an idea. The 5 senses. Then we have a mind, body, and speech. 5 and 3, 8. Then we have a lifespan. And then we have got breathing. This is called Panchendriya, Manabala, Kayabala, Vachabala, Vakabala, Ayushya, Ayubala, and then lastly, Swasoswas. So there are 10 types of life activities which we have. Ekendriya will have less than that, because there will not be a 4 indriyas in them, and there may not be man and vachan. So I'm not going to go into the detail, but pramata, yogata, pramata, carelessness. Yogata, activities of mind, body, and speech. Prana, vyaparona. Vyaparona means to destroy. If by my careless activities of mind, body, and speech, destroying the prana or the life forces of the living beings, because it is very clear that we cannot destroy the soul. Soul cannot be destroyed. So what we are actually destroying are the life forces present into that particular living being. Again, remember, this is very, very important. Because, children might ask that one side you are saying that soul cannot be destroyed. Then how do I destroy? Then there's no question of non-violence or the violence. Because the soul is eternal. So again, pramata, yogata, prana, vyaparopana, destroying the life forces of the living beings by mind, body, and speech carelessly. This is the definition which we have to clearly understand. Now let's understand the concept of non-violence in brief before we understand the sustainability or the need of non-violence for the sustainability of this planet. First of all, these are the days of Paryushana. And in Paryushana, there are many duties that we are supposed to do. And there are 5 very important duties that we must do. We are supposed to do, not only supposed to do, we must do. That is the obligation on the part of each and every one of us. In Jains, what are these 5 activities? The first is, yes, yesterday's slide I will share. I'm sorry, yes, I have not said it. Bindesh, but I'll share it after the lecture is over. So first of all, the first kartavya or first duty of each and every Jain during Paryushana is Amari Pravartan. Amari Pravartan. Amari, not to hurt anybody. That is Amari. Pravartan is to propagate. So the first and foremost duty of each one of us during Paryushan is Amari Pravartan. That means I will follow the non-violence. I will educate others to follow non-violence, and I will do all those activities which promotes non-violence. This is our first duty. And obviously, I'll just tell you the other 4 duties so that your list complete. The second one is called Sadharmik Bhakti. The third one is called Atham. That means you do some penance. Atham doesn't mean that you do 3 continuously, but you do some penance. That is the third one. The fourth one is called Chaitya Paripati. Chaitya Paripati means that you go to the places around and give your gratitudes to all the other sadhu bhagwans which are present in that nearby area. Obviously, you are supposed to go walking. You can't use the vehicle to do Chaitya Paripati. That is what we are doing as on today. It's something which is very anyhow. So Chaitya Paripati, and the last one is forgiveness or Kshamapna. So these are the 5 major activities which we must do during Paryushana. And as I told you, the Amari Pravartan, that means following non-violence and propagating that non-violence to the other people is our first duty. Now let's understand the concept of non-violence as far as Jain philosophy is concerned. Obviously, there is a community who thinks about their own community only, and they don't mind killing the people of the other community. I don't want to name that community, but yes, there is such belief. There is a community which talks about taking care of all human beings. That means the humanity is a very important part of their religion. Let's talk about, like Christians. They believe that just love, friendship to all the human beings. So that is their concept of non-violence. Then there is a religions like Hinduism or Vedic religion, where not only the human beings are respected, but even animals, birds, and many other creatures are respected. Like we have got, we believe them as a god, goddesses, all these animals. So we respect the animals. So our non-violence, as far as the Hindu is concerned, is not only limited to the human being, but also to the animals. Now, Jainism goes much beyond this. Jainism talks about non-violence, not only to the human beings, not only to the animals, not only to the insects, but it talks about the non-violence to the microorganism itself. Now think about 2,600 years back. Somebody is thinking about microorganism when there was no microscope available. So, this is really something which is so fascinating about Jain religion, that there are certain concepts which they thought about in those days, in absence of any of this, modern gadgets as we speak as on today. Now, not only that, Jainism still goes one step ahead and considers the important elements which sustain our life as living being: air, water, earth, and plants. They are also considered as the living being in Jainism. There is no other religion which probably thinks of this kind of concept. And not to hurt, fine, not to hurt the human being, not to hurt animals, not to hurt microorganism is one part. And second part is not to destroy or hurt earth, water, air, and plant. This is the beauty of Jain philosophy or Jain thought. Let's let's just try to understand that how are we sustained? What is the what that sustains this planet? I'm talking only about the earth today. The earth, the sustainability of the earth is because of the energy which is coming from the sun. I mean, I don't have to teach this to any one of you. Even a student going into school knows about it. We are sustained only because of the energy coming from the sun. If there is no energy coming from the sun, we will not survive. Simple. Now, the energy which is coming from the earth from the sun to the earth is a large energy, a very large energy. You can Google out and find out, in terms of the quantity which is there. And it is said that only 2% of that energy is grasped by the earth. Only 2%. And who grasps this energy? Mainly the plants. Plant only has a property to convert this energy into food. No other element of the planet can convert the energy of the sun into the food, because we require food. But for the plant to grow, it also needs air, it also needs water, and it also needs earth. So how beautifully a sustainability of the human race or all living being is explained by Jain thought. We need food. Every living being needs food. And this food will come only if the plant absorbs the energy from the sun. So the importance of plant, water, air, and earth, because you need an earth for the plant, you need air, you need water, you need and then the sunlight, which converts food. Even the carnivorous animals need food. There are animals who are thriving only on the meat, but from where the meat comes, ultimate source of meat is again plant. So think about this, that Tirthankar Paramatma thought about the sustainability of this universe and told us Chakaya Jiva Raksha. 6 kind of bodies are existing in this universe: human, Tiryanch, then obviously we have got earth, water, air, fire, and plants. Chakai Jiva Raksha is important concept of Jain philosophy. Probably no other religion has thought of this concept so much in detail. Now let's understand the evolution of non-violence in Jain philosophy or Jain tradition. Actually, if you see the lives of all Tirthankaras, you will find some story where the non-violence is described. Maybe it's the story of Megharaja in the previous bow of Santinath, Tirthankar Santinath. But what is very striking as far as the concept of non-violence is concerned is the story of Nem and Rajul, Neminath and Rajul. And all of us know that it was a marriage procession in which Rajkumar Nemi was going. And when he approached the city, he found the cries of thousands of animals. And he asked why these cries are there. And then somebody told him that it is all because of the food which is going to be prepared by slaughtering the animals. And he felt so bad about it. And then you know the story. He goes back and he renounces the world. So the concept of the real story, which is very popular story in Jain mythology or Jain scripture, is about the Nem and Rajul. After that, the next Tirthankar is Parshanath. And it is said that looking at this picture of Neminath renouncing the world because of the slaughtering which was happening during the marriage ceremony or that procession, Parshanath also gets initiation or gets the inspiration to enter the monkhood. So this is how the story continues. But the most important part is Tirthankar Mahavir. Through Tirthankar Mahavir, the non-violence was not only related to the animals. His concept of non-violence was very universal. And if you read the various agamic literature, he talked about non-violence to all the living beings, including the animals, because in those days, sacrificing the animal in the yajna was a very, very common practice. Not only that it was a common practice, but you sacrifice more animal, you get a better heaven. That was the belief which was going on in Vedic tradition, and the animals were slaughtered like anything. And this is what actually, Tirthankar Paramatma said, how this could be religion. This can't be dharma. Killing the animal cannot be dharma. So he actually, I always call Tirthankar Mahavir as a reformer. The most ancient reformer of our country is Tirthankar Mahavir. Because he did not raise his voice only to the animal killing, but he says that inequality itself is a violence. Read the first vrata of Hinsa or Ahimsa in our 12 vratas or 5 vratas. The non-violence not only relates to killing, but it also hurting, not giving proper food, giving more than the burden, the more burden than the person can carry or the animal can carry. To that extent, he explained us the concept of non-violence, inequality, exploitation of the poor. All these are the major factors that are there as far as the non-violence is concerned. So again, non-violence is not limited only not to kill the animals. Non-violence is related not to hurt anybody by mind, body, speech. The non-violence is extensive in the sense it takes off the care of not only microorganism, but also air, water, earth, and plant. And at the same time, any social inequality, any financial inequalities is also considered by Tirthankar Paramatma as violence. And that's from where we think about aparigraha. See, if you see that, suppose this is a violence, hinsa, and to sustain hinsa, there is aparigraha and anekant. The anekant and aparigraha can be considered as the pillars, and on that, the beam is hinsa. Because to have the hinsa, you need both this, anekant and aparigraha. But when you convert this aparigraha, when you convert this parigraha into aparigraha and ekant or anekant, then it becomes non-violence. So for non-violence, you need aparigraha and anekant. For violence, you've got ekant and parigraha. So understand the concept of, see, we usually speak of three words. What are the cardinal principles of Jainism? Then we say ahimsa, aparigraha, and anekant. Actually, ahimsa is on the two pillars of aparigraha and anekant. If you don't follow aparigraha and anekant, ahimsa cannot be followed. Such a beautifully so. Aparigraha and anekant is to enforce or fortify the concept of non-violence. Now, from here, let us understand that, what is the scenario as on today? Let's think about, first of all, let's think about 2000 years back. 2600 years back, our violence was mainly related to our food habits. Not to eat non-vegetarian food, not to, all those things were there in those days. So let's put it this way, that percentage-wise, 90% of humans' non-violence or the violence was related to the food habits. Because in those days, there was no industry. In those days, there was no such building or civilization which we are seeing today. So the focus was on food. What food you should take, when you should take the food. On certain days, you should not consume even the plants, what we call the tithi, following the tithi concept. So Tirthankar Paramatma told us very clearly that you have to be extremely careful as far as your food is concerned. Because that was the time when the civilization had just growing. It was growing. You might say that, yes, it was not fully established even at that time, but it was a growing civilization. Human race was basically non-veg or the meat eaters. And when the civilization came, what was added was the farming. And because of the farming, we went from non-vegetarian diet to the vegetarian diet. And Tirthankar Paramatma showed us that civilization, in a civilized body, in civilized atmosphere, you have to look at the animals as your friends, as the people, as the entities which are coexisting with you. So the focus, as I again told you, was on food. Unfortunately, today, try to understand, this is very important. Unfortunately, today, we are focusing on food. But the non-violence or the violence is not only related to food as on today. We have a lot of violence occurring because of our day-to-day activities, where not only the food, but we use car, we use plane, we have an industries, we have multiple products coming up, and all that is also cause of violence. Take an example. Suppose I am an industrialist and I follow Jainism. What do? Obviously, I don't eat at night. I do chavya. I usually use boiled water instead of the raw water. I don't eat, say, potatoes, onions, and other stuff which we are not supposed to eat. So I consider myself as a true Jain because I am following all the rules and regulations which are given as far as diet is concerned. But think the other way. Now I have an industry. And in my industry, I use gallons and gallons, thousands of gallons of water. I use one bottle, which is a boiled water, to see that I don't harm any living being. And at the other side, I'm using thousands and thousands of gallons of the water in my industry. What I want to drive at is that today, non-violence or the violence is not to be looked only in your kitchen. You have to look the violence happening around you by so many activities which we are doing as on today by our what I call so-called technological advancement of communication, the technological advancement of our travel, all technological advances which are happening, and all modern gadgets which are coming up. How much damage we are doing to this planet is really, really something which is to be worried about. Today, we are talking about, we started with 2G and then we started with 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G. What is this? These are all electromagnetic waves. We all are surrounded by so many kinds of electronic waves. And we have a study which says that these electronic waves can damage your brain. And that's why you're not supposed to keep your phone very near to your ear, because those vibrations can actually damage the proteins, certain types of proteins in your brain. And so these are the research which are going on. But let's understand, so many electronic waves or electromagnetic waves in the universe, around the universe, how much damage it must have been making to the microorganism. So you have to really understand the concept of non-violence from that angle. Each and every second or the fraction of the seconds, the millions of electromagnetic waves covering the universe or going around the earth and damaging the microorganism. Not only microorganism, we have not yet studied how much damage it can cause to the water, air, plants, and earth. We don't have the study on that. And it's bound to come up gradually. We are going to realize that as the number of this the micro or electromagnetic waves happening all around the earth, whether we will be able to sustain this or not. A day would definitely come. It's still the short time. We know now the earth hours has increased. We all talk about GDP, gross domestic production. Obviously, USA is number one as far as the GDP is concerned. Then comes China, and then I don't know, probably whatever country it is. I'm very poor at economics. But it is said that India is the fourth largest country as far as the GDP is concerned. And now India wants to be third in the position. Understand what happens when GDP increases. When GDP increases, two things definitely happen. One is there is going to be a depletion of the natural resources. Whatever you may say, you might say reuse, recycle. Yes, that would be partly help us, but not completely. Ultimately, a day is going to come where we will deplete all the natural resources. Our next generation will not have any natural resources available to them. And second thing, after depleting these natural resources, there is bound to be an energy crisis. As on today, we don't face energy crisis so much right now. But gradually, think about the electronic gadgets used nowadays. How much more electricity must have been requiring for these electronic gadgets? And so many new things coming up where electricity or the energy is required to be used. So day is bound to come when there is going to be energy crisis. And the third thing, whenever you produce anything, there is definite use of natural elements like water, air, and all that. And there is going to be a climate crisis. We are seeing climate crisis as on today. The glaciers are melting. There are a lot of natural calamities occurring because of the change of the atmosphere or the change of the climate. So our growth in our materialistic life, having so many things for our use or at our disposable, making our life comfortable, fine, that is one way. But at the same time, our life or the life of our next generation is going to be really, really troublesome because we are the thief of our we are the thief of the resources which our next generation would require or the generation after that would be required. How can we do this? And this concept was given by Tirthankar Paramatma in those days that please take care of water, take care of air, take care of plants, take care of earth. Sustainability is probably the basic concept of non-violence. I always ask a very simple question. Why I should be non-violent? Or why one should be non-violence? Non-violence is not an act of mercy. Non-violence is not an act of compassion. Not violence is not an act of showing pity to others. Non-violence is an act by which I want to have or sustain my own existence. Human race will vanish if we do not take care of the elements which are there around, not only atmosphere, but even the biosphere. There are a lot of study which says that each and every creation of this universe is important for us. Sometimes we talk about the bacteria or viruses. See, there are millions and million types of uh, bacteria. And there are million types of viruses. All of them are not harmful. There are few of them are harmful, but all of them are, most of them are useful. Our body is covered with microorganisms. Our body inside, there is something which, as a doctor, I know that what we call gut organ. The gut organ is not made up of my body. Gut organ is made up by the bacteria which I possess from outside. And if my gut body is not right, my digestion won't be right. If my digestion is not right, I would fall with the prey to many, many diseases. So who is sustaining my own body is gut organ. What is gut organ? Gut organ is nothing but outside bacteria, not my own. They are there within me, but they are bacteria. They are not. It's not my own life. It's the life of somebody, some other organisms. So we depend largely on the biosphere or the other living beings which are there. That is the reason at the bottom of our symbol, Jain symbol, we write Parasparopagraho Jivanam. What do we mean by Parasparopagraho Jivanam? That lives are interdependent. You can never say that I'm not part of other living beings. No, we all exist in a cohesiveness, and we all exist where we have to believe that we are all interdependent. This is the concept of sustainability. Now let's again, as I mentioned, that our non-violence should not be only related to food. Food may be 10 to 20% of our violence which is happening. We are using car, we are using planes, we are using so many products. We are talking about the domestic or increasing in the production. All these are the causes of violence, and that's why Tirthakar Paramatma told us the concept of minimalism. I don't use the word aparigraha, I use the word alpa parigraha. That means minimalism. I'll give you a very simple example. Just one t-shirt, the production of one t-shirt requires 2,800 liters of water. He said, okay, I bought it from my own money. Fine. Okay, you bought it from your own money. But what have you done? That you have created a situation where the production house required 2,800 liters of more water. Not only that, once you use it, you require more water for that. And obviously this cycle continues. So there are any products which I buy, I have to think. I mean, when I teach to the children, I give very simple concept. Ask yourself, do I need it? If you need it, buy it. Do I desire it or do I want it? If you want it, don't buy it because that's your desire. Don't try to satisfy your desire. And I tell children, please, you know, give this slogan to your mom also or to your father also. That father, do you need it? Mom, do you need it? If you need it, buy it. But if you want it, don't buy it. This is a simple concept of aparigraha or alpa parigraha. Now, now I'll go to a little bit of spiritual part of non-violence. The first of all, in Jainism, we talk about swahinsa and parhinsa. Try to understand swahinsa and parhinsa. Swahinsa is hurting your own self. Now, what do you mean by hurting your own self? Doesn't mean I'm talking about suicide or damaging your body. No. Swahinsa means hurting, damaging, destroying your own virtues, the virtues of the soul. Very important. Swahinsa has to be understood. Because Tirthankar Mahavir gave importance to Swahinsa. What are the causes of Swahinsa? 4 passions: anger, ego, deceit, and greed. Krodh, man, maya, lobh. These are 4 causes of violence to my own soul. And this is the foundation from where parhinsa or hurting others starts. Again, parhinsa or hurting others or damaging others will happen only from swahinsa. That means I have destroyed my own virtues. And when I destroy my own virtues, that is called swahinsa. And from swahinsa starts the parhinsa. We usually focus more on parhinsa. Okay, I will not eat non-vegetarian food, right? I will not eat certain kind of food which are not allowed. Obviously, some of you might say also that, okay, I will use my car less. I will travel as less as possible. I will believe in minimalism, try to use minimum things in my life. All that is fine. But at the same time, try to understand that, do I have an anger? Do I have ego? Do I possess deceit? Or do I possess greed? Because these are the causes of destroying my own virtues. Some people, I asked somebody who said, I am in meditation. So I asked him, what do you do in the meditation? And he said, Atma Dhyan. I'll tell you frankly, I've been practicing Jainism since last so many years. Obviously, so much after, maybe after 1996, when I started learning Jainism in detail, and I joined university to understand all other religions, and moving around all over the planet to learn a Jainism rather than teach Jainism. I always say that whenever I do Swadhyay, I learn a lot from you, from the students, I give you a very simple example. Once I was taking a lecture in USA to the children. And then I said that, I was trying to classify the living beings, and I started with viruses. A small guy of 9 years old, is telling his another boy that viruses are not living beings. I was surprised. So definition of viruses is different. Viruses are not considered scientifically as a living beings. This is how we learn from children also. And then I realized that, yes, the definition in science, as far as the living being is concerned, is a bit different than the definition as far as the Jainism is concerned. So each Swadhyaya is, very important for us to not only teach, but also to learn. So again, so the person was doing meditation. So I asked him, what do you do? He said, Atma Dhyan. And I'll tell you very frankly, even after practicing Jainism for so many years, I have not yet understood what is Atma Dhyan. So when students come to me, okay, sir, what do I do in meditation? So I said that in meditation, you focus on the virtues and the evils of your soul or evils of your self. So what are the virtues? Forgiveness, egolessness, no anger, what we call namrata, saralta, santosh, satisfaction or contentment. These are our virtues. And against that, anger is our evils. So focus how much you have, as far as the good qualities are concerned, and how much you have got as far as the bad qualities is concerned, and try to understand that you have to remove these bad qualities and imbibe the good qualities. I consider these as an Atma Dhyan. I really don't know that what can you focus on soul yet. And if there is somebody who can teach me that, I'll be highly obliged. Because whenever I think of Atma Dhyan, whenever I meditate, I start thinking, whenever you meditate, you on the contrary, start getting the ideas which you are not supposed to have otherwise. So I then focus on myself. Okay, did I get angry on anybody today? Did I did something which was a greed? Or did I do something which was a deceit? Or was my day was full of some ego somewhere? So I try to analyze that and then try to see that I try to remain away from this kind of evils. So again, swahinsa is more important to follow or to practice parhinsa or parahinsa. Swahinsa is more important to follow Paryushan. This is the very important concept which Jains have given. One another concept which we have to understand is that we always talk about the negative part of ahimsa. That means not to do this, not to do that. And like our children always say that, in Jainism, there is always something, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I said, what are we supposed to do? Let us explain that. And that's where this is agamic references. This is not my own understanding or my own innovation. Agam says that there are two kind of non-violences. One which is called nishedhatmak and the another which is called videyatmak. Videyatmak, suppose I have a good friendship with somebody or a friendship with all the living beings, helping them for their own survival is called videyatmak ahimsa. And not to kill the other living being is called nishedhatmak ahimsa. So let me put it again in a very simple word. Not to hurt anybody is nishedhatmak ahimsa, but helping somebody for his life, for his needs is called videyatmak ahimsa. See, unfortunately, Jainism has focused more on nishedhatmak ahimsa, not to do this, not to do that. Well, if you see the Christianity, they went for videyatmak ahimsa. That means they tried to help the people. I'm not going to discuss about the purpose and their motives about helping the human race or the society. I'm not going into that missionary type of activities which we all know about. But they percolated everywhere because of this kind of videyatmak ahimsa. That means they tried to not only live but let live. So Tirthankar Mahavir is not only live, let live, but help others to live. You have to go one step further. Live, fine. Let live, fine, because you cannot hurt anybody. but help others to live. That is where we have to understand the concept of non-violence in helping the people around. And if I do any activity where I help other people or other living beings, that is also part of non-violence. Non-violence is not only restricted to not eating potatoes or not eating onions or being vegetarian. Yes, they are part of our life, they are part of our tradition, but at the same time, you have to understand that we also take care of other people, other living beings, help them to live, help them to sustain their lives, help them to have the wonderful world for them. So, again, Videyatmak and Nishedhatmak. Now, there is one question which come up. You know that when you are talking about not to destroy plants, not to destroy air, not to destroy water, not to destroy earth, then how can we live? How can we live without a car? How can we live without traveling from one place to another place? How can we live without the proper communication? I mean, it's impossible. Nowadays, this is not possible. So the question comes that, what is non-violence as far as we Shravaks are concerned, the ladies are concerned? All of you should, I don't know whether you know about Shravakachar and Shramanachar. The achar or the conduct which a Shravak is supposed to follow, and the conduct which a Shraman or the monk is supposed to follow, which is called Shravakachar and Shramanachar. We are all Shravak. We have not taken the Diksha, so we are not Shraman. Now, Anand was a Shravak and considered to be the important disciple of Tirthankar Mahavir. He asked Tirthankar Mahavir that what is the non-violence as far as the Shravaks are concerned? This is all very important question for all of us. I am Shravak. I am not monk. What kind of non-violence I should follow? A very simple question. I am not monk, so I cannot follow all those kinds of non-violence which a monk is observing. Obviously, they follow 5 Mahavratas. They are at higher position spiritually. Fine, but I am Shravak. I have not yet gone, or I have not resolved myself to become a monk. So what should I do as a Shravak to follow non-violence? And when he said, I'll put it in English so it becomes very clear. Not to hurt any living being. Not to hurt any living being which is more than 2 sensed. I'm going to repeat this again. Not to hurt any living being which is more than 2 sensed intentionally. Very simple for us. Not to hurt any living beings which is more than 2 sensed intentionally. Unintentionally, you might hurt. But you have to be careful. Just don't say that you are careless and go on killing the insect and birds and animals. No, you have to be careful. Then Anand asked, what about the one-sensed organism? And there he said, Jaina. Jaina means restrain yourself. As far as possible, try to avoid damage to one-sensed organism, which we call earth, water, air, and plants. See, the only religion where we follow Tithi Yojana or Tithi concept is that for 2 days, we are allowed to eat the normal food, obviously vegetarian food. And on the 3rd day, we are told not to eat the plants. See, unfortunately, what has happened, Tithi is not only related to food. The concept of Tithi is not only related to food. Tithi is a day where you are supposed to have the restraint or sanyam. Again, 2 days you are allowed to do whatever you want to do. Tej and Chauth in Pacham, you have to follow the sanyam. 6th and 7th day, all right. 8th day, you are supposed to follow the sanyam. What does it mean? The concept of minimalism, the concept of non-violence is to be taught to the human being every third day. And on the third day, that means after having your, I don't want to use the word carelessness, but laxities for 2 days, Tirthankar Parma says, hey, wait now. On the third day, you have to be careful. And you have to follow the restraint or sanyam. Sanyam in what? Not to do anything where you hurt anybody. And plants are the commonest thing which you hurt. But not only that, all your activities should be restrained. What we have done, whenever there is a tithi, the only thing which happens is that we don't eat the green vegetables. That's all. I was studying in medical college, and I used to get my tiffin from my home. And the day there is no green vegetable, my friend used to laugh at me and tell me, aaj koi tithi lagti hai. I made them understand what tithi is all about. So they usually, we were the medical students, and obviously you can understand that some of them were non-vegetarian and some were vegetarian, and I was pure vegetarian. There are somewhere who were vegetarian but not Jain vegetarian. But we were all used to sit on one common table. And so if there is no green vegetable in my tiffin, they would say, oh, aaj kuch tithi lagta hai. Tithi. They used to laugh at me. And I also used to smile at them that yes, because they don't know what Jainism is all about. And then some of them would say, Are Bipin, आपके टिफिन में आज green vegetables नहीं आया है ना, you can have from us. That's how the whole fun was going. But yes, again, what I want to convince to you is that Tithi concept is not only for the food, not only for the green vegetables. The third day, you are supposed to follow non-violence as much as possible and minimalism as much as possible. This is where, as I told you, the traditionally so many things are not well understood. And sometimes your children would ask the question, why are we following this tithi? Why are we not preparing green vegetable one day? If we are not supposed to eat green vegetables, let's not eat green vegetables forever. So yes, you have to give them the logical answer that you cannot survive without green vegetables, but at least once in 3 days, you stop eating that. Your respect to the environment, your respect to the plants, your respect to everything. So as Bindesh Bhai has rightly said, there is a time up now for the question and answer. But I'll again tell you only two small things in 2 minutes. We always talk about AAA, Ahimsa, Aparika, and Anekant as the cardinal principles of Jainism. But I would like to replace this by saying that the cardinal principles of Jainism or Jain tradition is not AAA. It is AST. A stands for Ahimsa, S stands for Sanyam, and T stands for Tapa. And rightly mentioned in the Svaikalik Sutra, what is the best religion or what is best dharma? Dhammo Mangal Mukkitham, Ahimsa Sanjamo Tavo. And lastly, Bhavahinsa and Dravyahinsa. Even thinking about hurting somebody is called Bhavahinsa. You're not yet committed the crime, but you just thought about it. And that also is the cause of demeritorious karmas or papa coming to your soul. Understand, it's not only the act of your body, not only the act of your speech, but even the act of your mind is very important as far as the non-violence or the violence is concerned. So with this, I sincerely thank all of you to listen to me so patiently, learning about some new concept. You can also share your views whenever you want to share with me about the violence or the non-violence, how important it is, not only for our religion or tradition, but how important it is for sustainability of this planet, where, scientific progress or the technological progress or the materialistic life is heading us towards the damage to the planet. And we have to possibly do as much as we can do to save this planet. Thank you very much. And now if you have any questions, I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. Thank you. Videsh bhai, if there are any questions.
Bipin bhai, thank you very much. This was very enlightening session on ahimsa and non-violence. And we have two questions right now in the chat. And one is a longer one from Sonal. So Sonal, would you like to say that it might be faster if you ask the question directly, if you're available?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Doshi, for your comments and connecting ahimsa to sustainability. I think that's really wonderful. If I heard you right, I think you said we don't currently have an energy problem. But I was wondering if you could explain that a little more in light of, the UN through their intergovernmental
See,
panel on climate
right.
change has been saying there is a crisis, related to fossil fuels. So there's currently an energy crisis, not that we can't use fossil fuels, but that we really should be,
Yeah,
curbing
see,
that.
See, the commonest energy source was the fuel and the water. And obviously, we also started adding to that is the solar energy or a wind energy. And that's how our energy production is there on today. And probably a day would come when we will be using the hydrogen as an energy source. Right now, if you see the production cost of the energy is not so much that it affects our wallet so much. But a day would come when the cost of energy production will be so much that you will be spending a much more money than what you have been spending right now. And then it will become little, it will become little difficult for the economic of your family or of the society to face this crisis. I really, there are people who have been working on this and trying to see that the energy is available at the cheapest cost. And yes, as on today, our cost of energy is not so much. But a day would definitely come where we will require more energy production, and probably if the production cost of energy goes up, then yes. Today's we are fortunate that from fuel we are shifting over to the solar energy and the nuclear energy, where the cost is not so much increased. So we have to be a little careful, and there might happen an energy crisis maybe after 50 years or maybe after 100 years. That's what I study. I mean, I'm connected, well connected with one of the energy producing or the solar energy producing company, and we have this discussion going on. And we always feel that yes, as on today, we are okay as far as the cost of energy is concerned, but probably in future this cost may be so much from our daily expenses that there would be a problem.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. There is another kind of a subject matter question. What about humans that live in a cold climates? They cannot grow plants to eat. So this is regarding, the non-violence you had mentioned.
Absolutely. See, the people staying in cold climate is out of the compulsion. They need food. And if the plants are not available, they will not survive without eating non-vegetarian food. Fine. Tirthankar Paramatma very clearly said that you require food. You cannot sustain yourself without food. But try to minimize the violence. So there again, those who are staying there, our advice should be very simple. That yes, if you need this much of meat, don't use more meat. Don't kill more animals. We can't say that, okay, you become vegetarian. Where, how they can become a vegetarian when then vegetarian food is not available? So we have to be practical. We can't advise them. And obviously, like we might say that, okay, it is unfortunate part on them. They are born in such place where they cannot follow the non-violence.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. I think there is a question from Angelica, but it seems like you already addressed generic questions on energy crisis and whether things are there. So I would rather give benefit to a few other questions with a limited time. Saurabh's question is: while we drink boiling water, Are we not hurting the life within?
I tell you, as a doctor, when somebody talks about boiled water and non-boiled water, I am really confused, because my teaching tells me that when you drink a water, it's not necessary that my stomach will kill the organisms present in the water. I really, I really don't understand this. On the contrary, I need bacteria in my body. A good bacteria is in my body, which usually comes from my food and water. So, again, according to me, I may be wrong, or I may hurt somebody by saying this. According to me, the concept of boiling water came in those days because by experience, our leaders, maybe spiritual leaders or other leaders, understood that there could be a water which can cause disease like cholera. If you see the history of the world history, the cholera has killed the whole village or the whole city. So according to me, our monks were going from one place to another place, or traveling from so the Tirthankar Paramatma, as an advice on a health ground, must have told them that please boil the water before you drink. So according to me, it's a scientific concept, nothing to do with, that it's a living being and not to, air is a living being. Do you think that you will filter the air and breathe? Water is also a living being from our concept. So yes, you do filtering of water so that the gross lives are not there. You don't eat the or you don't eat the insect and other things which could have been there. But to me, I may be wrong also, but to me, boiling the water is more of an health aspect, where the monks were going from one place to another place and drinking any water which might have been contaminated with certain type of bacteria, like your jaundice, your typhoid, your various kind of diarrheas, whether it is a bacterial diarrhea or a viral diarrhea or cholera, which was very, very predominant in those days. So according to me, boiling water is a medical aspect or a health aspect, and not so much from the point of view of non-violence as we talk about. That's my view.
Okay,
Again,
thank you.
pardon
Thank
me
you.
if other people don't, because there are people who think about boiling water is a very essential part of Jain tradition and Jaina. Fine, okay. Because as a medical student, I know, as a medical doctor, I know that drinking a water containing viruses or the bacteria, the body does not destroy them. On the contrary, they grow inside, and when they grow inside, they can cause the disease. If that is not so, if all the bacteria and viruses are destroyed when we gulp when we gulp the water, then we will never get the waterborne diseases at all.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. We have already 6 minutes over, but let's take the last question. If you can quickly address, this is from Kaishal Dalal, and this is regarding a vegan question. I have a question. The consumption of all forms of dairy is deeply rooted. We are knowingly harming 5 cents animal. What can be done to convince the wider Jain community?
First of all, I'm vegan. I don't use, uh, some disturbance is coming up, please. I'm vegan. I don't use dairy product at all. Now, people ask me, why don't you use dairy products? I don't give them any explanation. I mean, I don't talk about environment. Yes, all that I understand and I know about it. I said, my ethical practice says that, why should I hurt any animal for my food as far as possible? Milk is not an important part of our food. We are very wrongly taught in our childhood that milk is a complete food. It's an absolutely a foolish statement. Milk is not required at all in our life. Today's milk has got a lot of hormones, a lot of antibiotics, a lot of pesticides. Rather than doing anything good, they can definitely harm ourselves. So this is my first belief, that milk is not a good product to eat. It's not an hygienic product. One thing. The second thing, when the milk is produced in the dairies, there's a lot of cruelty on the animals. You can Google out and find out that what amount of cruelty is happening to our cows, how they are made pregnant and how they are treated, and how the pumping of the milk is done. You can read about the cruelty happening into the dairies. Not only that, these cows made pregnant repeatedly over a period of time, and in another 3 or 4 years, they become incapable of anything, and then they are sent to the slaughterhouse. I'm a firm believer that more the dairy products, more you drink milk or use dairy products, more animals will go to the slaughterhouse. There's a direct connection between dairy products growing and slaughterhouse growing. And that's why I, as my ethical practice, I'm vegan. Again, simple answer. I don't want to hurt any animals for my food. That's all. I don't want to even, give the pros and cons and all that. Even
Thank you,
as far
Dr.
as
Doshi.
just add just for a minute. I'll also use the same thing for the eggs, how the eggs are produced. Some people say that why we should not use the eggs, and they are they are vegetarian and all that. I only say that just go to the poultry farms and find out how the eggs are produced, what kind of treatment which is given to these hands. And I don't want to be a part of that cruelty in my life, and that's why I don't eat eggs. As simple as that. My ethical practice does not allow. Then nobody will question you. If you try to give the scientific answer, they'll have 10 scientific answers against you. But when you say that, no, this is my ethical practice, this is the way I want to live it, and there is no question about it.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. Would you like to say your email address? Because there are few questions that
Okay.
maybe they can email you. So it's a
D for Delhi, R for Rajkot, or DR Bipin Doshi, my name. Okay. Dimen Bhai has already put Dr.
Okay.
Bipin Doshi at yahoo.com.
Okay. So request to Natasha, please send Dr. Doshi your question, and he will address it. And
So
Dr.
you can,
Doshi, please go ahead.
yeah, Dimen Bhai, you can put my number also, no problem. If somebody wants to talk me on a WhatsApp call by taking my time, just put my message that I want to discuss.
Please do your phone number, please.
98210 52413.
Can you say it again, please?
98210 52413.
416 413.
98210 52413. Yes, Bindesh Bhai has put it right.
Thank you. Thank you, Bindesh. This is Nayan Shah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Doshi, if you want to say
So nice
Mangal
of
part,
you,
please.
and thank you very much for having a wonderful session with all of you. And tomorrow I'll try to make it only 45 so that we have 15 minutes for the questions. Because
Bipin Bhai, you've been so great. Thank you.
Okay,
You've been so
thank
great,
you very
Bipin Bhai. Thank you very much for all your information, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, Bindesh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bindesh
Good night.
Bhai. Good night.
Good night.